for the development. And today we have Miss Iryna Zapatrina, founder of the private-public partnership. We have Zaveranska Hromada. We have Mr. Dilyan Mlzev, mayor of Elena city from Bulgaria. We also have Mr. Mykola Savolyak, chairman of the Business People Club, and Ms. Oksana Koval hopefully will join us a bit later. Today we are going to discuss close partnership between the local government and businesses. We are going to discuss private-public partnerships. And first of all, I would like to give the floor to Mr. Dilyan Mlzev. And my question to you is about your experience of a public-private partnership. Perhaps you have the success stories of contacts with Ukrainian parties, counterparts, etc. Thank you very much. We can hear you and we can see you. Dear organizers and participants of today's important forum discussing the partnership, it is very important that the partners should understand each other. Some 20-30 years learning Russian language was compulsory both in Bulgaria and Ukraine, and I hope that the majority still understands it. And please allow me to speak Russian here. It has nothing in common with the politics. I just want to be understood better. I am Dilyan Mlzev, and I was born in Elena, and later on I was moved to other city, but then I came back to Elena to work. Since 1999, when I was still 30, I was mayor. Then I was mayor in 2003, and later on I relocated to Sofia, where I worked in the local self-government consultancy area and research area, and then I came back again to Elena. I'll try to show you the presentation about Elena municipality. We are in the southeastern part of Purinova region. And here you see that we are 671 square meter big and almost 10,000 of population. We have forests, pastures, meadows, and we have a lot of game in our forests, and our pastures and meadows are favorable for agriculture, for cattle farming, and we have the mountain river, several actually mountain river, and dam on Yevkovtsi. We have good connection via 3 mountain passages. In 2019, our population amounted to almost 10,000 people. We have 100 of settlements and villages, and Elena has 1,500 residents. And in the villages around it, we have another 2,500 residents, and all the rest are small settlements, and a rather big number of villages have less than 10 residents. And the town was founded back in 13th century, when after Turkish occupation the crafts started to develop, and we had very well-developed crafts which were famous all over the Turkish Empire. We also had very famous religious leader here, Makary the Polish, and he was very famous fighter for the Christianity, and we have a good tradition of talented people. For example, the chairwoman of the World Bank comes from here. In Soviet times, we had several enterprises which were rather small for the social economy, and the majority of residents is still preoccupied with cattle farming and processing of wood. In 1990s, the majority of those enterprises went bankrupt. State cooperatives were dissolved, and there was extremely high unemployment at that time, especially among young people. And in 1991, we had developed the first post-socialist plan for the municipality development, where we set 3 top priorities. First, to revive the cattle farming and cattle breeding in the region, and to restore the agricultural sector in general. The second top priority was food processing, and the third top priority was tourism development based on the old history. Then we became, with the years, rather successful. Now we have a very good dairy plant, milk processing plant. We have a very good winery here, and we, in general, produce a lot of food stuff, including dried mushrooms and berries, which are also processed here in line with high environmental standards, and marketed all over Bulgaria and in Europe. And of course, we managed to succeed with the USAID help and with the involvement of civil society. There, on the framework of those projects, I met Mr. Mikhailov, and he invited me to participate in this project. Then, within several years, we managed to create several dozens of the guest houses and many hotels for the development of tourism. We have founded a local council on tourism, which brought together various stakeholders acting in tourism and cooperating with the municipality. Now we have more than 230 hotels and guest houses, offering more than 2,500 of beds for tourists. To compare, in 1980s, we had only one hotel of 100 beds, small hostels, and almost nothing more. When we have decided to develop tourism, we had developed more than 200 tourist objects, and in many villages we have mostly guest houses, and not more than 10 families living there, but more and more young families start to come here. Also, we should keep in mind that those people who come here, these are urban residents. They want to have all the up-to-date amenities and conveniences in this city. What can boost economy? The typical local speciality in terms of food is the pork leg, which is cooked under very special conditions of the local climate. Not only local recipe, but it requires a lot of local weather and climate special conditions to produce ham. There's cooking specialty is called Elensky goose, and we had built our tourist attraction on this specialty, food specialty. Quite recently, in 2012, we had launched wine festivals. One of those was devoted to that food delicious specialty, which I have just mentioned, and in order to organize the first festival, we had erected a special restaurant with more than 200 seats, and we managed to bring a lot of people. The festival was organized in late October, which traditionally used to be the season of autumn fairs and festivals. So for local residents, it was like a revival of old tradition. And then in 2013, we organized another such festival, and since 2014, people have heard about this event, and even tourist companies began to bring up groups of tourists, and but the snow came early and spoiled it for a bit, and in 2015 we ran out of money, and we found out that the number of guests was much higher than we expected, so the guests were not very much satisfied. So the next year, 2016, we took measures and learned the lessons. We had increased the number of parking lots, increased the number of seats in the restaurants, had launched a special artistic events, and we had fears, of course, that because of the failure in 2015, not so many guests would come, but our fears did not come to reality, and the festival became very successful. Then, inspired by that success, in 2016, we decided to extend the festival for 2 days and to organize the evening program and offer a hunting game when the guests searched for some things which disappeared. Some people covered more than 30 kilometers to attend our festival, and we continued to include more and more new attractive elements to the festival. And unfortunately, the pandemic in the year 2020 put an end to all that, but nevertheless, even in 2020, the festival was rather active to some extent. We very carefully plan for the festival. We start actually planning a year before. When the previous festival is over, we announce which weekend would be dedicated to the festival, and we start planning the residence places, etc. And currently we feel that that there is a big interest to our festival, but we very carefully observe that only local products should be allowed to be presented at the festival, and only local restaurants are allowed to offer something to guests. And we also very carefully control the quality of Elensky boot. This is this enterprise which produces Elensky boot, and we are planning to open 2 more in the center of the city, we have opened a special store where you can buy local products produced in line with the old local recipes and all the businesses work in close partnership with the local council. All the private businesses are very proactive, but it's quite clear that they cannot work alone and turn it into.
Пожалуйста, 1-2 минутки, мы хотим вам еще вопросы задать.
Also, I would like to show an example of the international partnership in the area of preserving cultural heritage and preservation of inherited local products. We used to have an old school which was burnt back in 1880, then later in 1940s, and in 1950 we decided to revive it, and we restored it jointly with the Romanian government. This is the view after the latest fire, while here you have the restored building, picture of the restored building. And now this is used as the picture gallery. And currently we are preoccupied with organization of the picture gallery, marketing campaign, etc. And now about our cooperation with Pyryatin city in Ukraine. This was launched in 1962. We organized common events, but and of course that partnership almost stopped in 1990s. And here you see the events which we had back in Soviet times, including joint meetings of soldiers near the monument. And in 2019, one Puritan journalist visited us, and we started to restore our partnership relations. And we had started from business exchanges and plan to continue in the cultural area, but unfortunately the pandemic interrupted that partnership. And thank you for your attention. I hope that this presentation seemed interesting to you. Thank you, Mr. Dilyan. I have a question to you, whether you have crediting facilities of the European banks or some investment projects in your projects, and where Zelensky boot could be found in Ukraine for consumption. of course, infrastructural projects in Elena were financed by the European Union. For example, our stadium was restored, reconstructed with involvement of European funds. Then roads and highways were restored by the European Union loans, and the project which I mentioned about reconstruction of the school and turning it into the picture gallery also was funded by the European funds. As for Yelensky boat, I'm not sure where you can buy it in Ukraine now, but we're looking at an opportunity to establish connections with Ukrainian merchants who would be able to offer this product and other our products in Ukraine. Thank you very much for your presentation. We would be happy if you would be able to stay with us a bit longer up to the end of our panel. Now we have Ms. Iryna Zapatrina from the Academy of Public-Private Partnership, and we will discuss how to build up private-public partnership. My presentation will be slightly different. It won't be about some specific city or town, but it will describe generally how public-private partnership could play in development of your local communities. I would start with the question: why do we discuss the development of local communities? Of course, we all strive to ensure high level of the local communities, to ensure not only comfortable life, but also offer good jobs and which would allow people to find what they want to do and earn decent salaries. Sustainable development goals, perhaps you have heard about that. And perhaps you heard about the sustainable development goal number 11, which says about decent life conditions, green zones, clean water, possibility to get education, and the right to decent work. But this is impossible if your city or town does not have good infrastructure. That is, living in a settlement, you need to have a good school with internet, you need to have a good outpatient clinic, you need to have some heat or energy supply objects which do not make harm for the environment. So all those aspects are very closely related to the infrastructure, and In order to either modernize or develop new infrastructure, you need not only a proper knowledge and level of technical development, but also money. And the budgets of local budgets are rather limited, especially in these dark times of pandemic. And I would like to say that the infrastructure everywhere in the world, even in the most developed countries, cannot be built exclusively with the national or local budget funds. That's why authorities everywhere in the world, local governments, try to involve private partners who are interested to work with the infrastructure projects, because infrastructure projects are a long-term projects, and in order to be able to launch such projects, the governments need such tool as private-public partnership. And actually, in this partnership, a community is a part. PPP projects are different from other sort of government projects because they are they offer higher level of the requested social service. And investors who invest into the project, private investors, are able to get higher reward depending on the quality of service which this investor promises. That is, if an investor commits to improve the road and get something in reward for this, then in this case, the reward would come to the investor only in case the repair would be of good quality. And community in this community is interested to get better service than the service that is available to this community now. And thus, the community is interested to turn from non-attractive community into the attractive community. So this approach, which I have just described, which is used in PPP, allows local communities to get better services, to get access to better infrastructure of higher quality, and to offer more services that it was able to offer in the past. Thus, the local authority carries out its main function to satisfy demand for services among local communities, and businesses are interested in this infrastructure local projects because this allows these businesses to earn money and to offer services. Another specificity of local PPPs is that the business first has to invest money to develop or to restore the infrastructure, and then with the use of this infrastructure get money for the services which are delivered due to this infrastructure. Then, when local businesses invest in the local project and gets reward on the account of a local community, this local community not only allows the investor to get the reward, but also increases its local budget revenues, which are available for the further local investments. What potential PPPs could be launched at the local level? First of all, those which are of public interest. We have to restore the objects which fall under the responsibility of local authority. This might be highways, roads, bridges, waste management facilities. If we take small towns, this could be thermo-modernization of the local social infrastructure. This could be modernization of local kindergarten, capital overhaul in a school. This might be installation of the well-equipped facilities on bus stops or local department store. This might be sports facilities or local ambulance point, whatever objects which are of public interest. Currently, Ukrainian legislation in the PPP area is very advanced and could be compared with the best examples of such legislation in the world. In October 2018, when a new law about concessions was passed and amendments to the law on PPP of Ukraine was made, this considerably improved the regulatory framework. The European Bank for Reconstruction and Development actively contributed to that drafting, and ULEAD project and some other European projects contributed to that stages of legislation drafting, and this resulted to the existence of very good legislation on PPP. It is very clear, it is protective in terms of both the partners, but it is not simple. The procedures are not simple, and the approach of legislation depends on who initiates the project. If the initiator is private, then local authorities have to organize a contest, and that private initiator, private business, gets some preferences in the contest, or they may expect some reward from another winner of the contract. Well, what do we have in practice? We still do not have the latest analysis from the ministry, which till now are collecting data for the last year. But on the website of the ministry, we can find that since 1999, when the first law on concessions was passed, since that time we have got 199 concession agreement, which were more similar to the rent agreements. As of now, we have also not so many such projects like 192. From the moment when new legislation was passed, new agreements are now in the pipeline to seaports, several local administrations. Automatic control system for the speed of movement on Ukrainian highways. For comparison, let us take Kazakhstan, who in 2015 had passed the law on PPP. Since that time, they have concluded 194 PPP agreements, and out of that number, were submitted by private businesses. And those big number of projects comprised kindergartens, city lighting, that is projects of all sorts of sizes for all sorts of communities, and some projects united even some neighboring communities. Which was good example how the communities may get united in the implementation of what is needed to them. And some projects brought together local communities and the central state. These are important elements of the whole scheme, private-public scheme. Why we do not have the same process in Ukraine? In Ukraine, we have just a few such projects. We do not have many of them because the public authorities do not know how to act properly. They are not interested in initiating new projects. They do not know what to do. Thus, we are losing opportunities. But on the website of ULEAD, you may analyze small PPP projects which are being implemented with the assistance of international sponsors. For example, in Truskavets, they have re-equipped inpatient hospital of small mini invasive surgeries and rehabilitation, and that similar projects were just launched, but they are not numerous. This online training has won the reputation of least efficient than the offline, but I can assure you that our experience with the online trainings which we have gained during latest years demonstrate clearly that there are some advantages and disadvantages. Of course, cooperation offline cooperation allows us to communicate, but online training saves time for trainers and for trainees. Just imagine a group of 10, 15 people, and their background knowledge and background preparation is quite different among all of them, and online course allows them to use their own pace of gaining this new experience and eventually come to the same level altogether. And some people need one time to listen to the delivered training. Some people require several times, and this becomes quite convenient. I have finished, and I'm ready to answer your questions.
Thank you, Iryna. We have a lot of questions. Maybe we should move forward, and then we will have Q&A session. Now, I would like to give the floor to Ihor Dovirak, head of Pechenizhynska territorial community. He will tell us about the experience of intermunicipal cooperation and their successful examples. Good afternoon. I'm Ihor Dovirak. I'm head of Pechenizhynska territorial community. I traveled here in the train and I prepared some materials. I've prepared a presentation, and I really care about people who are now online, and maybe my speech will be aggressive in order to wake you up. And I will wake you up. You may be sure about this. I know that you didn't want to be involved. I'm speaking about the heads, but they should get involved. And do you know what time will be allocated for my presentation? This is 40 seconds. Why so? I will provide my experience of being a head. I have a moral right for this. I created in accordance with the feng shui, like Vyacheslav Andronovich mentioned. We've created, together with my team, we've created the first territorial community in Ukraine. We created in 2015. We have 20,000 of people, 9 settlements are included. And it is really difficult to do this in our region. Now I'm going to give you a task. You all have pens, and please tell me what marriage is the best. I will explain it to you. First, marriage, if you have love, then if you have interest. And the third option is marriage in accordance with the contract. You may raise your hands and ask this question. I haven't prepared any papers on this. This is just logical thinking. I will tell you aggressive and unpopular things, and you will disagree 100%. This is about a school bus and why you bought it and whether you need it. But I do not want to convince you. I will speak about this during our panel on education, but this is a strategic panel. So strategy is a document that flies in the sky and we cannot catch it. So you may Google our Pechenizhynska territorial community. 57 minutes ago, maybe more, my colleague said wonderful things about Dobra program, and there is a story of the program that was implemented. You know, dear heads, in your life you will have many international programs, and the principle of European Union and the principle of other programs, they resolve some problems. What is Dobra program? As Anatoly Fedorovich said, it increases institutional capability. You may read information on the page of Pechenizhynska territorial community. If you want to know about this, I put information about our community and about proper partnership. And let's also speak about the marriage with love, marriage in accordance with some contract, and the partnership is like a marriage. Some heads say that some sheikhs, they have black oil, they have Lexuses and Mercedes cars. What can I tell you about this? Yes, you're right, but let's look at the rating of the countries. I mean, the richest countries. You know that there is Australia, and they are together with the sheikhs in Sydney. They have some freezing areas, and they have uncomfortable living conditions and local population. They didn't invent nothing else, only a boomerang. And now they are in the highest rankings. Do you know why they are on the top? Why they are capable? They resolved only one problem. In the 30s, they provided a water pipeline in Sydney. Also, you may Google Pechenizhynska territorial community, and you may find information about this community. I would like to address two capable communities. And why Ukraine is 100th place? Why you don't go up? Why we cannot feel that we are capable? Maybe we should bring Ukraine to 50th place in the ranking. So we should look at our local resources. What is the biggest tax in the European Union? So we have our revenues like in EU and other countries. For example, we have Poland as an example. You may find this information on the site of the institutions. And what is the biggest proceed there? This is for real estate tax. And you may tell me that our citizens are poor and you want to tax them. I do not want to tax them. I want to create proper conditions for living. But no one worked with this tax. No one paid attention to this tax. And our country really differs from other countries concerning these taxes. Some people mentioned waste, and I may forecast, and taking into account my experience, I have been working for 10 years in local government bodies. No matter what law we have, it won't be implemented. You know why? Because in Google, you may find a Polish law. What does it propose? It proposes taxes on wastes. No administrative measures will provide this. Nothing else is going to help. Let's move forward. We are incapable of working with this tax. In central TV channels, they said that housing less than 120 meters have benefits, and they didn't mention some households premises that are not taxed. We do not have a mechanism how to collect these taxes. You may look at the number of these housing premises and what profit may be provided. So we are incapable of collecting taxes properly. About delegation of responsibilities to local self-government bodies. We have international friends here, and I would like to say that local self-government bodies are not corrupt, because the head is under the supervision of the community, and the head won't be elected if he is corrupt. And where do we have corruption? For example, police officer, he wants to promote his rank or the director of the Department of Strategic Research of Ivano-Frankivsk oblast when he was investigated and 5 criminal cases were opened concerning him, and he has ships, cars, and other things. We should think strategically, and we should agree on these 3 criteria. Do you monitor this? Do you put the marks concerning communal enterprises? There are new communities that are newly created. They want to have everything at once. Communal enterprises are not needed. 100% of heads won't be satisfied with this idea. They would say, our citizens, they need to have order, they need to do many things, and I would like to ask them, do you want to have new foreign equipment from Dovirak program for free? Of course they want it. Maybe they want to co-finance. Maybe you should buy it. Maybe we will be able to buy it. But I have another question to the heads of the communities. Do you want that those workers in communal enterprises to have proper salary? Average salary is 12,000. Of course they want such a salary. Will you pay taxes? Yes, we will do it. Okay. And now The answer is simple. We have the law on procurement. And did you ask about the service that you want to provide? What is the cost of the service in the market? What about the school bus? How much should you pay for the maintenance and proper fueling of the school bus? There are many violations in this area. Do you know that you should provide 50 to the entrepreneur? So you go and create a communal enterprise. We have a communal enterprise. Please understand me correctly. I'm not an opponent. I'm a head, and we should have compromises. If you do not have these compromises, first you go to psychiatrist, the next people won't elect you again. Why I'm so aggressive? Because I want our heads to think properly. For example, our vision is 160, and I want to have 170 or even 200. So you should analyze the situation and find money. Of course, we lack money. Now about delegated responsibility. About local governance body. Do you know what it is? Do you know? I will tell you. This is the instrument to create comfortable living for residents. Comfortable living is not a legal term, but it includes everything: finances, environment, and other aspects. I would like to tell you one more thing that was provided by the state to us. No one speaks about it. Also, I will tell you about medicine. You need to have this healthcare area. You have a communal enterprise, a communal state. The state may delegate different responsibilities, and you should be guided only by law. 26, 30, 31, 33, 34th articles. And I believe that love conquers, okay? I will tell you what love is. About municipal cooperation. So let's speak about intermunicipal cooperation. So people marry because they love each other, they get married, and then they divorce in a month. So we should deal with the problem properly. We concluded proper contract, for example, concerning lighting. I need only 40 seconds. We have several minutes. I will be brief. About the contracts. This is about ASCs. So, for example, the Center for Administrative Services was built, and this is now I'm going to speak about the stages of implementation. Here on the slide we have the city of regional importance. We have a tourism center. We analyze the situation in Colombia, and more than 250,000 tourists come to this town. and communities got united, and we, as a member of the program, we submitted an application to Dobre program concerning this, and so all these stages should be implemented, and we are on the stage 5th and 6th. I won't read it. Next, the project is called like this. And the next slide, motivation. It motivates bicycle infrastructure in each community. It is marked in different colors on this map. This is infrastructure, street lighting, private business, households, and by this step we create a new level, and we should develop further. Every person wants to live long, to be in comfortable environment. That's why we are going to work on these routes, and you see them in different colors. So here we are with the mayor. He didn't win the elections, but he is a good man. Here what we got from Dobre program. Here we have a contribution that is mutually beneficial, and also information about what is now working. We will get the results. So do we have Mykola Cibulak with us? Mykola, please. You've heard the opinion of local government from Ukraine and from Bulgaria. You've heard about PPP and the legislation. That is one of the best in the world. We need the opinion from business about your vision concerning building strategic partnership with communities, with local self-government bodies, and what is the most important for the business in this area. I will speak only what concerns business, and we have been working for 12 years with SMEs and with communities. We started our work 2 years ago. Decentralization reform started, and we believe that this is some joke from the state, but now we see that this decentralization really happened, and we have a more serious attitude concerning cooperation with municipalities. I've prepared a short presentation, and I'm going to show it to you. I will tell you about the myth that business have other opinion about it. Last year, in the framework of one of the projects supported by BRD, we surveyed about 100 entrepreneurs in 10 areas. We surveyed them in spring at the start of the quarantine and in autumn when the quarantine was over. I will show you only 2 slides. Of business. Many say that business and community should be supported to provide benefits, financial benefits, direct financing. And we included these issues in our survey, and the result was surprising for us. So this is the result, and in green, this is a spring survey, and second survey is in dark color. 10 to 15% of business said that they lack financial resources. The prevailing majority, 90% of business said that they have enough financing, and sometimes only they lack something. So in this, I would like to dismantle the myth that communities and municipalities should support small business in the region. Why? Because financial resources are lacking, and this exhausts the budget of the municipality. And often when we speak with municipalities, the first question that they raise is about financial instruments to support business. My opinion is that we do not need such instruments if you do not have excessive money. So here I will show you a leaf. We have a joke in our business community. Please show proper slide.
Зараз секундочку. Ми виведемо на екран вашу презентацію.
We put your presentation on the screen. 1 minute, please. First, my thought is business should be supported financially in the region if there is a proper budget. Financial instrument is not the main one. Now about this leaf.
Ні, не видно. Можете ще раз її поширити? Продовжуйте, будь ласка, презентацію.
Can you see my presentation?
Технічні речі.
So business has a skeptical attitude concerning 8,000 hryvnias of one-time support, or that they should not pay single monetary contribution during quarantine. Business sees it like being hit by a train. Someone comes and put a plantain on this person. So this is nothing for business, but it exhausts the municipality budget, and they may deal with other problems using this money. So I call on municipalities, they should not try to help business with small money. It isn't appropriate, it doesn't worth it.
Є, видно презентацію.
Now we see your presentation. So part of the questions was about business in the community and the orientation of this business. And we see that about half of those who were surveyed, they believed that conditions for business would deteriorate. And municipalities, they should speak with the business in order to understand what challenges they face and why they expect deterioration of situation for the business in the community. And this is not about financing of business. So now about several instruments. And we elaborated them together with ULIT project. We have about 15 instruments we should speak about. I will focus on one instrument, and we as practitioners believe that it is the most efficient one and it shows good results. Based on the results of our work, we see that the instruments for support of business in the community, these instruments may be different. But business coordinator is important. I would like to speak in more detail about this. First, the needs of business are studied, and then there should be proper dialogue with the municipal power. And we recommend in several pilot communities where we worked to introduce business coordinator. So this is a person or a group of people, the activity of which is aimed to develop local business in the community and to attract new investors. So we elaborated this instrument and introduced it in 3 communities in Lvivska oblast. And now I'm going to tell you about the essence of this function. I believe that any community, even the smallest, may introduce such an instrument and bring good results. Business coordinator is a specialist who is a worker of the municipality and community. Usually such specialists are available. Maybe they have different name of their position, and they should be responsible for constant communication with business. So some people may say that they have such a position, but do they have proper functions? And we have experience in our business association. We know that such specialists may work with 200 to 400 of entrepreneurs. What it means, he speaks with them regularly and helps them to develop their business. What does it mean? How to coordinate? Such a business coordinator during 6 months should meet personally or remotely during the quarantine with each entrepreneur of the community and to have some conversations, friendly conversations with them. The specialist may get information about this entrepreneur, what pains, what needs and opportunities they have. From the other side, they tell about the situation in the community and about the needs of the community. So the key function of such a coordinator is to establish continuous dialogue with the individual entrepreneurs in the communities. Such a specialist, he meets with entrepreneurs at least once in half year, and also he should communicate through email with them, may phone them, or through Facebook in order to see the situation and to provide some value to the entrepreneur. Usually entrepreneurs, they need business contacts, they need experts, they need subcontractors, partners to resolve some problems. In this, if a specialist in the community continuously monthly contact with them, the entrepreneur, he reveals his needs and the municipality may help them. And they build loyalty concerning entrepreneur to community, and the entrepreneur will be able to pay taxes properly. And also they have proper cooperation. The specialist also should regularly inform business about any business opportunities. What does it mean? So maybe there were some tenders, grants, maybe some requests from other entrepreneurs. Any opportunities that may be of interest to entrepreneurs in the community to develop business. And entrepreneurs, they are involved in operative activities. They do not have time to monitor all this, and such specialists in the community may help them in this. Such a specialist may prepare information about investment opportunities in the community. Part of communities, they have proper investment passports, and also they prepare presentations of the objects they have, and the business, they have zero information about opportunities in the community if this entrepreneur does not live in the same community. When potential investor wants to enter the community, he doesn't know where to address to in order to be provided with proper information. And also such specialist works with domestic and foreign investors. There are local investors, internal investors, and we should pay our attention first to those entrepreneurs who work in the territory of the community and who wants to expand their business, and they should be helped in this. And I will bring several examples about successful and nearly successful information work.
When we used to work with the Velikolyublinska community that prepared the investment passport, and here you see one of the screenshots. This used to be a boiler house in the community, and we disseminated that information, and some businessmen decided to go inside to visit it, and the head of the local community had shown the object, but eventually this potential investor decided not to get involved. But eventually the investor expressed big satisfaction due to the level of communication. So, though despite the investment project was not implemented, but hopefully this will result in future. Another good example of investment, there is a businessman who produces seedlings for later planting, and this investor would like to extend the business, but not in the place where he works now, not in Lviv altogether, but in other locations. He started to look for other locations, and eventually he found something. He wanted to find new site not farther than 40 kilometers from Lviv, and with good road, etc. And eventually he found good site in another local community and created additional place, additional business in Viverska local community, where he produces seedlings, and now actually he has two enterprises in Lvivska and Viverska local community. And actually those investors, they look for good communication, local community, good infrastructure in those communities where they want to develop. Mykola, you have just another minute. One more good example of cooperation, work with the MHP based on the corporate social responsibility projects. They had established micro grants for the local communities, and they had established this micro grants for 16 local communities. For local communities, this is a good opportunity. So my overall message throughout the whole presentation was that the dialogue and cooperation is a key to success in implementation of the local investment projects. The local community resources should not be wasted on subsidies, on etc., but should be spent carefully for training of local government representatives who should be able to cooperate with businesses properly and to involve more money to the local community. Now, I would like to invite to the microphone Ms. Oksana Koval, who is head of the communications, PR, and GR of Kernel company. Oksana, please be very concise. We would like to hear from you how big businesses look at their cooperation with local communities and what is your company's strategy in building cooperation with local communities. Dear colleagues, can you hear me properly? Unfortunately, I do not hear you. We can hear you. Please start. Oksana, can you hear us? I'm Oksana Koval from Kernel company. We'll try to share our experience, how big businesses work with local communities and at the local level. For big companies, this is one of the key areas because we work in the majority of local communities in majority regions in Ukraine. We rent land from local community. This is actually the basis for the company. I'm not sure whether you know that Kernel is a leading producer of sunflower oil in the world. We have been exporting our products since 1995 from Ukraine and to more than 80 countries in the world. We are present in global markets and almost all global markets. We represent the portrait of Ukraine in global market. We have almost 12,000 of employees. Here you see the chart showing our basic facilities. We have the biggest land bank in Ukraine, more than 510,000 of hectares. We have a huge production of crop. We process that huge bulk of crop, and actually these are the biggest production facilities in Ukraine. We are present in 11 regions of Ukraine and cooperate with 477 local communities. For us, good presence in a community means not only an opportunity for sustainable development of our business, but for the development of local community. We maintain multiple dialogue with the local authorities, and our cooperation is based on quality dialogue and quality communication with local level. We have a special team out of those people who work in the regions who are responsible for contacts with the local communities. And as well as a team of those via whom we implement our projects. What do we find in this win-win partnership as a company? Why do we perceive this communication as win-win? Because our company offers job in the regions, and on the other hand, we are able to attract qualified experts. Then we pay taxes. We pay taxes and they go to the local communities, to the local authorities at all levels. For us, this is perhaps the biggest advantage. The biggest advantage that we have in the region, because not all the businesses who work in the region, which are either small or middle-size businesses, they do not work transparently enough to pay much taxes. When we come to any region, we explain clearly to local authorities that we are good taxpayers and big taxpayers, and that the region may benefit from this tax revenues. For more than 10 years now, we have been implementing systemically our projects, corporate projects on local level, social corporate projects. This is well designed at the company level. We carefully compile the annual social projects plan for the next year. This creates additional benefit for local community. In those communities where we work, we pay taxes. They expect for revenues on the one hand, budget revenues on the other hand. They may expect to have the local social projects. And we are happy to attract local residents either to business projects, social business projects, or to the purely social projects which we organize at the local level. Win-win partnership means that for the local community, this is a winning situation, and for us too. And always we try to work at the level of local communities and at the level of Verkhovna Rada of Ukraine. The image of a community and how it influences the investment attractiveness of the community? How do we perceive or assess which region is better for our community, which region is more attractive for our business? At each level, we try to assess the openness and readiness of local authority to cooperate with us. Of course, the reputation of a local community is always subject of our evaluation for some period of time. When we hear about some scandals, some unfavorable experiences or about bad reputation of the local community, of course, we are not eager to come to these local communities. For us, it is important that behavior and communication of the local authorities should be decent and understandable and honest in respect of our company. And also assessing the region for the future investments. We think about taxes, paying taxes. We paying taxes in full scope. We believe that the even level playing field is extremely important, and of course we know we try to ensure that the even playing field is equal for everybody. The taxes, initial training. Here you see all the materials which we offer as a training in the area of taxes, in order to ensure that all the target audiences, including local authorities, understand our contribution to their development. Small videos we demonstrate these videos all year round about taxes that we pay. This is our social responsibility projects. This is big advantage of the company, and this is a big achievement of the team and a good advantage for the regional local authorities which get this assistance. How do we assess the level of success in our social projects? We carry out surveys and polls among local residents in the communities, and we assess the loyalty of local communities, and then we assessing the loyalty, we see unfortunately we have to finish the presentation. Oksana, can you hear us? Can you hear us? We will thank to Oksana, and we have to finish this panel because we have to start the next panel. Unfortunately, we failed to ask the questions, and so the major conclusion is that the marriage should be based on love, and that love should be expressed through good dialogue and communication. We should clearly understand that this partnership is just one comment. The local community should be able to implement what it promises. Thank you.
Шановні колеги, учасники наступної панелі, прошу не розходитись через